Thanks so much for joining me today. What we're going to do today is to actually talk about one of my absolute favorite of the formats we have here as at TechSoup Connect. It's called the show and tell or the roundtable, and it's my secret event format because with this event, you don't need to have a guest presenter. You don't need to have really a fixed set agenda. And that means it's perfect for, say, a presenter backs out at you last minute, and you're like, okay, what do I do to fill out this gap? The answer is a show and tell. Um, or maybe it's a great way for you to sort of just like get more participation from your members. So here's what the show and tell actually is. And I'm going to go here into our guide where we actually sort of have this overview of it. So what it really is it's 5-minute demos crowdsourced from your members. But it doesn't need to be super complicated because what it really is people just coming and saying like, here's a cool thing I know how to do. And they basically, without slides, just say, here it is. I'm going to turn on my screen sharing and show you my favorite tool. Um, and so it can be quickly like turn into something where it starts really building energy quite quickly. Um, and so what happens is basically you'll act as a host and say like, okay, my first person doing the demo is going to be Alex, and says I want to show people like, here's my favorite CRM tool. And so they log in, they pop it open, and they give people a quick guided tour, answer 2 or 3 questions, and then after 5 minutes or less, if they're done quicker, you wrap it up and you pass it on to the next person. Now, of course, here's my tips, which is no one likes going first. So, what I encourage you to do is get like 2 or 3 friends to agree to participate ahead of time and say, okay, you're going to go first. And so, once those people show what it looks like, everyone else gets really unnervous. You may also want to start by hosting the event, like doing the first demo yourself, just to show people how it's done. And you'll see here within the guide, to make it really easy, I've got sort of, some possible titles you could use, a photo you could use to feature the event, and even some text to sort of describe the event and put into the event description. So that's kind of what the event flow is. And what it actually looks like is, well, frankly, let me show you. I think that'll be the best way to do that. And also, of course, I've been sharing the screen, but I haven't been sharing the screen. So you're like, what is he talking about? Here's what I've been talking about. So there is this show and tell demo page description on the Zendesk site for TechSoup Connect. And that sort of outlines just sort of like, some of the core tips, the event topic titles, the image you could use for cutting and pasting into the event description, and all that. But I think really the best way to do one of these is to do a bit of a demo. So why don't I do that? I'm going to demo, one of my favorite tools. And so I'm going to start up and say like, okay, well, what I'd like to demo today is basically a tool I use to move a little bit more quickly every day. Because if you're like me, what you do is you type the same things over and over and over again, be it your email address um, or some of your other favorite things. So I'm just going to open up this text document. So what I use is something called Text Expander or Type It For Me. There's a number of different tools there. And what they do is they basically allow you to take any kind of string of text and have it automatically expanded. So, here's a thing I type all the time, my email address, but my last name is really long. So you'll see it just auto expanded. I went to Eli at V and it turned into boom, Eli Vandergeesen. Or say people are saying like, oh, I want your address. You're like, okay, well, I'm just going to write H address and boom, it spits out my whole address. Um, And you can do this for all kinds of URLs. So I do this for like comma TS to spit out TechSoup.org. And you can also do it for much longer pieces of text as well. Um, and it's all managed within one of these software things where you basically create these little shortcuts. So you can see I've got all these different abbreviations in here. Um, and then when you type those things out, you'll see it actually spits out the text below. You can also do this for things like, oh, like here's my standard signature. So you can put that in here. You could also do it with some longer pieces of text. So yeah, here's a good example. Come on. So you can see like I typed in a bit of a thing like BMaker, and then you'll see it brought up a pop-up here. So you can actually then basically say like, oh, like here's the name and here's the app. So this is a way for me to drop text into customized emails, which I'm going to like write out to 10 people, but I want to like, make sure I change the two lines. So, hey, this would be, hey, Alex, I thought your app, you know, appy.com was super cool. And so then I just click OK, and you'll see that it then spits out this longer form of text. Maybe just like make this a little bit bigger. So it's a little bit easier to read. And so then you'll say like, hi, Alex, the thing I dropped in. I'm Eli Caravan Studios. I'm doing all this work. We think your work on Here's the App work I dropped in was really, really cool. And so this is a way for you to like basically offer like, like creating like sort of a big email list to people, but also customizing it a little bit for each one of those people as you create those emails. So that is basically text expander. Although I think the app I'm currently using actually is called Typinator, um, and it's a great little tool for you if you type the same kinds of things all the time. It's just a nice little tool for you to use. So that's my demo, and then you pass it on to the next person, and they would talk a little bit about their thing. Maybe they'd say like, cool things. So I've been at these events where I was first introduced to things like Trello. So that was like a brand new tool to me. Or other times someone showed me a cool tool that helped them create color palettes. Um, and so these could be of any free or paid service, and it could be like any app or software. It's just a great way for you to sort of show off your secret weapons, your secret tricks. It's also one of these events where someone first showed me Canva and said like, here's this cool new graphic design tool, which knocked my socks off. So that's sort of how you would run one of these events. And you would basically do, probably three of them to start because you would recruit two friends to sort of get the things going. And what I find is once you've done that, people get excited about it and want to do their own demos. And so you just get people volunteering from your attendees to do another demo. And then once you've gone through everyone who wants to do a demo, you could start at the top of the list and say, hey, Alex, do you have a second demo? Anything else you might want to share? And that would be the flow of the event. You'll quickly fill to 45 minutes with on one of these events, and and then you wrap, and the day's over. And I find them to be one of the most popular event formats. And what's great about them is I didn't ask anyone to put together 45 minutes of slides. We just had this quite quick, informal demo event. So that's sort of like what I want to talk about today. What do you think, Alex? Does that sound like an interesting approach for one of your own events?
I think yes, that would make it very very interesting because one of the worries is will the event be interesting enough to people? But if you have several speakers, I think you are sure there'll be.
Yeah, that is totally the secret. So I have usually a timekeeper who keeps things limited to 5 minutes because, yeah, not everyone is going to be a good presenter. Maybe, one person is going to demo something that isn't that interesting. Well, at the most, it was 5 minutes of boring, and then you move on to the next person. So it does minimize your risk around that. Is it going to be interesting part? And I typically find that people actually get pretty excited about like learning about new tools. So I think almost everything that people demo in can be really interesting. In fact, I'll do one more quick demo, and then Alex, maybe you want to do one if you're set up for that. So here's another tool that I love, and I actually learned at another one of these demo events. Um, that's not going to work. All right. This is always the one danger about these kinds of events is They're like, is everyone logged in? It's a lot of complication around that. If in an in-person event where everything's happening at one laptop, there's a lot of logging in and logging out, which can be a little bit tricky. In a live event like this, it's obviously, also when people are doing things webinar style, they can be logged into their own computer and it can get a little simpler. So let me just tell you what this cool tool is. It's called Descript. And what it is it's a video editor that is made for people who aren't maybe naturally video editors. Because what it really does is it takes advantage of some commonplace technology and ties them all together. So I'm going to pop into an event. So here is one of the videos from one of our upcoming events. And you'll see what it has here is the script for the video below, and then the video above. And so that's interesting. So it means you can go and pop around into this video, because what you'll see is this script and the video above it are connected to each other. In fact, let me take a, there we go. So here's moving to some graphics, which means if you said, okay, there's a sentence here where I didn't like it that much or that wasn't really useful, you can just highlight that text and delete it. And that same section is deleted from the video above you, which I think is kind of remarkable. It also means because you have the script, you can do things like go in here and say, I want to shorten all the word gaps. So you say like, oh, everything where there's like more than like, a 1 second gap, I want to shorten it and make it sort of like a half-second gap. Or another thing that you can do is you can go through here and say, show me all the filler words, like show me all the uses of and then just delete every time someone said. And so you can just do that by editing text, and then it also edits the video above it. And then once you've got that, well, then you can just go there, share, and export that video. And so it's a great way for you to make easy edits, because it's obviously much easier to review and edit text than it is to edit video. If you get the more expensive paid version, you can even sort of get it to basically create a sound-alike robot voice for yourself. So you're like, oh, what I really want to say is not just the one question, but like maybe the only question. And so you just go here and you could actually change that text. Um, and it would then also try and basically change the voice as well, which is another interesting little technique that I don't have full access to, but you can sort of see how that works out. And so that is Descript. And the basic version, getting 2 hours of transcription, is I think free. Otherwise, you'll need to pay a bit more. But if you do any kind of video editing, it's very helpful. I especially like it for things like taking these net squared videos from the webinars, because then I can easily cut off like the quiet parts at the beginning and the end, because it's very easy just to see like, oh, there's nothing in the text, delete all the sections of the video without audio to it. And that's my quick intro to Descript.
Okay, I can try. I don't have such an elaborate presentation like yours. But something interesting that happened recently is Skype introduced a new functionality. Long ago, to meet with people on Skype, they had to be registered on Skype. So they have introduced something which is similar to the meeting rooms in Zoom and other conferencing services. So you might have noticed a new icon in your Skype, which is Meet Now. So you can host a meeting or you can join a meeting. So this is almost like someone coming to knock virtually at the door of your office. Hey, Alex, I need to have a chat with you. Or you going knocking into someone's door office and say, I would want to have a meeting with you. So all you need to do is to choose host a meeting, and then you put the details. So maybe we want to have a happy hour. There will be the link, and then you just you can add contacts from your Skype, or you can invite by copying the link, sending through emails, or sending to Facebook. So this is a neat feature that Skype have just introduced, I think, in the past 2 weeks. And people are already experimenting with it on things like telemedicine, because you can set up a private virtual consultation room. So I would encourage you to try it out and see which use cases you can come up with. But I think it was quite a neat feature that was added to Skype recently.
Yeah, no, I
Thank you.
like that a lot, and that's it reminds me a lot of how I sort of have been using Zoom, which is like to have these permanently open, like single link rooms, so I don't have to generate a link every single time. It's just like this link will always work for this conversation. So I quite
Yes.
like that, and obviously, you know, Zoom has got some costs to it, as do most of the other tools that do this, and Skype has usually been mostly free. So that looks really interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, it's something they have released about 2 weeks ago.
Great. The other thing, actually, I haven't demoed here, but Skype is the one tool, unlike WhatsApp, which actually is built-in translation. Have you ever used that to sort of use a little translation bot on the chat?
Not really. I thought it's like Zoom where you have to hire a translator.
No, there's actually
So
like because it's part of Microsoft technology. There's actually you can sort of have like an AI bot that would do the translation. So what you do is you create like a new chat with someone, and then
okay,
you would invite into the chat basically the bot, which is just
okay.
yeah.
And you would say, what is the
Like
name of the
search.
bot?
Yeah. So it's just create the yeah. So try translate. I think on it. So TRA.
Translate.
No, that's not doing
It
it.
or I need, or is it that one? There is something translate, but I don't know if it's the one.
No, I don't know. Think that's it. No, that's not it. Anyways, this
Or
is the danger of the live demo. Maybe there's another bad app.
without practicing, maybe there is an adding that has to be
Yeah, there's a way to
enabled.
add in a Skype bot.
Yeah, but I think yeah, that's an yeah. Oh, test English grammar. No, okay, that's different. Okay, that would be something interesting. I would look to. I've noticed with when you're doing webinars with a tool like Zoom, if you want translation services, it's like an additional service you have to hire, and actually a human translator joins the meeting and translates for you. But yeah, using the artificial intelligence, I think yeah would be quite neat.
Yeah, so I think here's actually, I think I found the link around that.
Maybe you can share.
Yeah, I'll turn on the share screen around that. So yeah, I've used it in the past, which was actually quite nice to sort of, to work with people who speak primarily French. So if I were to turn on the share screen, sort of here would be the guide on that. So you go here from chats, and then you click, the group, you go to the profile of the person and you send a translation request. It looks like is that how it happens here. So I'll drop that link into the chat. But anyways, it's a nice little thing I wish other services had as well. It's not perfect, obviously, as a machine translation, but it's always shockingly good, all things considered, especially for simpler languages like English to French or English to Spanish.
Yes, because they have the same basics of coming from Latin, so translation should not be so difficult.
Yeah, but there are obviously other languages that have a different roots. Like if you're trying to go to Bengali or Chinese,
Yes.
it's definitely harder for a smooth translation to happen in my experience. Not, of course, that I
Wow.
speak good Bengali. So what do I really know about that?
Wow, but it's quite interesting what technology is enabling.
Yeah, and this is really, I think, the style of this particular style of event is it really just allows us to like share some interesting approaches and techniques and tools we've tried out. And yeah, as you see, sometimes you do a demo and you're like, oh, actually, I haven't really done that for a while. Things have changed. I don't really remember it. And you get a failed demo, and you move on to the next one. Or if someone remembers later, so it's like, oh, I remember to do that cool thing now. But it can be a fun style of event. And that's kind of us doing, our half hour. So I didn't
The
want to keep
round table, yes.
Yes, I didn't want to keep it too long, but basically this is exactly what you saw today with me and Alex, where I did a demo, then Alex showed off the cool Skype meeting links, and then I did my failed demo, and then we'd go back maybe to Alex or the next person in the room or in the webinar, and we'd sort of keep the event flow going like that. And it's often just like some of the events I get the very best feedback on because people are learning new techniques, new tools, and also sometimes you have people who don't want to be a presenter but do have really interesting things to share, and so it's good to give them a an opportunity to come and share some of their expertise with you as a group. And you might even find someone who does such an amazing demo that you go back to them and say, like, actually, you need to do a full event. You are amazing. Like, come be our next event presenter. So what do you think, Alex? Anything else we want to cover today?
Not really. I think that's quite an interesting event. I think we should try it. Would you need maybe a specific topic? Say, for example, we are thinking of doing one in Kenya. Do you leave it open-ended, or you
Like, is
agree
there?
on a theme?
I typically have not worried about the theme. I want to keep it as open as possible to people so they can find something to contribute into there. I mean, the theme often is just like show me like your favorite like tool or online service you use to help you be a bit more effective in your work or solve some of your everyday problems. And so that could be as simple as like, well, let me show you how to create a pivot table, a thing most people struggle with. So it could be a quick demo like that. So it could be like a how-to skill share, or it could be an introduction to a new tool. But I typically have not kept it to a fixed theme. I find that basically once you've done those first 2 or 3 demos that you again sort of pre-sourced, they really set the model so people quickly understand what is a good fit for the event.
Well, I think that will be. We'll definitely be experimenting with that in Kenya, hopefully before the end of this year. It's
Fabulous,
it's
yeah.
it's a real neat approach to try out. Yes.
And it's also a great way for you to take reactivate your co-organizers who maybe aren't as active as you are. You get to say like, well, here's a thing for you to do. You're going to have a role in the next event. You're going to do one of my first 3 5-minute demos.
Wow. Yes, I think that's a really good idea.
Well, I'm excited to see when your event gets published. Again, I'll put that link into the chat. Here's just the easy format for the cut and paste description for the show and tell. And of course, you can always find that at the TechSoup.zendesk.com sorry, TechSoupConnect@zendesk.com where we've got all this material. Otherwise, I'm going to shut this down. I look forward to seeing other people experiment with the roundtable or show and tell style format.
Okay. Thank you very much.